Hi, my name is Paul Marambos. I'm a module leader on the MAAF module. Welcome to this application video, which will prepare you for Virtual Classroom 1, covering business strategy and risk. This video will briefly introduce strategy and risk. With strategy, we will also take a look at SWOT analysis and Porter's generic strategies. So let's get started. The strategic planning model outlined in the CSG has 4 steps to it, the first 2 of which are reflected on this slide. The first step would be to define the destination. This would be done by developing a vision for the business and providing effective leadership. The second step would be to undertake an environmental analysis. This analysis includes both the internal environment, looking within the business, and the external environment, looking outside the business itself at factors such as competitors, interest rates, the economy, etc. We will now look at some tools that are used when analyzing the internal and external environment. With internal analysis, tools such as value chain analysis or the resource-based view could be adopted. The resource-based view identifies a business's valuable resources and uses them to develop a competitive advantage. Analyzing the external environment could be undertaken using tools such as pestle analysis, Porter's 5 forces, as well as competitor and risk analysis. All of these are outlined in the CSG. Undertaking an external analysis will help a business understand its strengths and weaknesses, whilst an external analysis would enable a business to identify opportunities and threats. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This diagram provides some information on SWOT analysis. There's a description of each aspect of SWOT analysis, as well as some questions that are useful for when undertaking a SWOT analysis. If you're not familiar with SWOT analysis, best pause the video and spend a couple of minutes reviewing this slide. The strengths and weaknesses are internal and cover what we are good at as well as what we are weak at, what makes us different from our competitors. So if all our competitors are also doing something, then we can't call it a strength. On the other hand, opportunities and threats are external. What is changing in the external environment that gives us some potential opportunity or threat. So we generally don't have control over them, but bear in mind that these issues may not yet have happened. That is, there may be a potential issue. The case study used for Virtual Classroom 1 is called Blue Patch, and this slide will provide examples identified for each element of the SWOT analysis for Blue Patch. The brand name, which for Blue Patch is a strength, and the limited online presence, which is a weakness, are both internal issues that Blue Patch can influence. Whereas the opportunity, which is the growth of the economies of certain overseas markets, and the threat, which is new competitors entering the market, are outside influences that Blue Patch cannot control directly. Having said that, whilst Blue Patch cannot control these external factors, they are able to develop strategies that effectively respond to them. Porter, the strategy guru, categorizes organizations' strategies into 4 different segments. In the diagram, the y-axis defines the target market, i.e. whether a broad cross-section of buyers or whether a narrow buyer segment or market niche is being targeted. The latter would be called a focused strategy. A broad strategy from a geographic perspective could, for example, involve expanding the geographic boundaries beyond the immediate city within which a business operates. A focused strategy could be based on age, gender, or some other demographic, so only concentrating on those attributes of the market segment. The x-axis defines the type of competitor advantage that has been pursued, either low cost or differentiation. As a business looks for a competitive advantage by either producing goods and services at a lower cost than its competitors or seeking differentiation of its products or services in order to obtain competitive advantage. And there have been various adaptations of these over the years. For example, Thomson, Strickland, and Gamble adding a best cost provider strategy, whereby a business offers differentiated goods and services at a relatively low price. Note that not all strategies that organizations come up with will fit nicely into each of these separate categories. Having said that, what this model does is to facilitate the development of strategies around defining the market that is being targeted, as well as how to achieve competitive advantage. We'll discuss the case study of Blue Patch in Virtual Classroom 1 and see where it fits in with Porter's generic strategies Risk management is an integral part of running a business and hence is included in the strategic planning process. In preparation for Virtual Classroom 1, we will have a brief look at the types of risk that a business faces. A good place to start is to become aware of the various categories of risk. This will enable us to more easily identify risks. This diagram, which is from the CSG, identifies 10 different risk categories. These are each defined in the CSG. Most organizations will not have to deal with all 10 of these risk categories. Having said that, most will have to deal with a pretty good number of them. Also, bear in mind that a single risk could fall under more than one category. For example, Tesla identifies this risk well before production of the Model 3 commenced. The risk states that we may experience delays in realizing our projected timelines and cost and volume targets for the production, launch, and ramp up of a Model 3 vehicle, which could harm our business, prospects, financial conditions, and operating results. Now, Tesla is now experiencing significant delays in the production of its Model 3. If you are interested in reading what Tesla has identified as the key business risks, have a look at the Tesla example in the CSG. So this risk could be classified as a financial risk because it's going to impact upon profits, as well as a reputational risk and a strategic risk. Risk is having a stronger focus now than ever before. And this is seen from companies' annual reports, where much more focus is put on the business's risks. And some of this focus is useful to investors, whereas some is not that helpful. Now, looking at financial risk, there are a number of categories of financial risk, and we'll reflect these on the next slide. There are numerous sources of financial risk that a business may be exposed to. Per this slide, there are 7 categories that have been covered in the CSG, each of which is explained there. Now, bear in mind, you would not be expected to have an expert knowledge of the different financial instruments used in managing some of these financial risks. The key learning outcomes would be for you to identify common business risks, which would include financial risks, apply the risk management process, and assess these risks and apply strategies to treat the risks. So the next step that we would encourage you to do is to read the case study for Virtual Classroom 1 and then attend the live session or view the recorded session. And this will all help you develop the skills you'll need to successfully complete the module, including the assessment. Thank you for having viewed this video and I hope you found it helpful.